best ones
Good morning. Welcome to another episode of SJU here on Fandom. I feel like everyone knows that we are Fandom now and not Screen Junkies News, but just in case, we are the same channel. Hello, nice to see you. I am obviously not Roth or Dan or Joe, but both of them are here.
But she is Spencer.
She might be me.
I might be Spencer. So good morning. We have got Joe, Spencer, Dan, and now me. We have got a packed episode today. There is a lot to get through. We're going to talk about some Disney release dates. We're going to talk about some Spider-Man stuff. We're going to talk about some Stranger Things trials. And we're going to try to get to some of them fan questions that we didn't get a chance to get to on Friday. And by we, I mean y'all, because I was not here.
You know what I love is as our branding evolves, our mug branding goes backwards. Because Lon had a Screen Junkies mug yesterday, and Joe's gone all the way back to Break Media, which is eons ago.
We still live in the ancient ruins. and we live in a weird Mad Max studio, and I scrounged for what I could. My desk is actually just 4 pieces of driftwood and like
Cobbled together.
Mad Rob's t-shirt collection.
Are you gonna have a Netscape Navigator mug next week? Like, how far back are we going?
That's touched a lot of lips.
That's the only way I'll drink my coffee, baby.
Sorry.
No, please. So I'm not going to segue. I'm just going to go. Walt Disney Studios has unveiled its upcoming slate following the recent acquisition of the Fox Film Studios, including changes to previously dated films and a number of major additions. New Mutants has been delayed again. This is the second big delay. I believe there's been more other ones. The first was scheduled for April 2019, and then August 2020, and now this. What do we think about the New Mutants being delayed again?
Wait, if it was delayed to April 2020
What?
and then August 2020, something's
No,
up.
it was scheduled for April 2018.
Okay.
And then February 2019, and then August of this year, and now April of next year.
April of next year.
Yeah.
Okay. got
So
it.
it will if it comes out, it will be 2 years past its original scheduled release.
I think this will drop on Hulu.
Yeah, I was
Like,
gonna say
that's-
Disney Plus or Hulu. Where's it going?
Yeah, this doesn't get a theatrical release. This drops on Hulu.
But why would they include it then? Is my question.
My guess would be just to stop people from asking questions about New Mutants every time something comes up. Although I can't see anyone having asked questions about New Mutants, so maybe it wouldn't have actually been a problem.
I think they just knew we were going to have a slow news day otherwise, so they pushed New Mutants again. It's we scratch your back kind of situation.
Did we ever release the junket we sent you to for New Mutants?
No, I didn't have a driver's license. Like, I was too young to drive when I visited the set.
Recruited Joe out of high school to go visit the New Mutants.
2 years ago,
Yeah.
I think I went and did a New Mutant set visit and was really excited because it looked really neat. And someday we'll share it with you guys. I don't
think
know.
we can. I think it's still under embargo. Is it?
I mean, typically for those set visits, they're under embargo until about 3 months before the movie comes out. Y'all are never going to see the set visit, is what we're
Do
trying
you
to
even
say.
remember? Could you even write a story about it?
No, I don't think so.
With the full flowing mullet.
and a pullover starter jacket. Yeah. It was full on just mid '90s. Joe was at the New Mutants set, and I don't know.
I hope they release
I don't think
this
it'll ever come
after
out.
extensive reshoots and Maisie Williams just bounces back and forth between like 21 and 17.
I would be very excited to see the first time they actually have to use de-aging software on a child.
Yes.
I'm very excited for that.
But no, I watched him shoot a bunch of stuff for on that set visit. Watched a couple really cool scenes get shot, and like it looked really cool. Like it did straight up look like a weird Conjuring X-Men movie, which Maisie Williams was really fun of what I saw her shoot. Girl from The Witch / Glass.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Thank you, Anya Taylor-Joy as Magic looked rad. I still have things that I had to sign an agreement to say that I wouldn't talk about from that set visit.
Do you
from
remember
2 years ago.
Do you remember what any
You're
of
not
those
allowed
are?
to talk about.
I'm probably still not allowed to talk about them. I don't know. I think at this point they are pushing this film back as a test of character for me. Like how
It's the
long?
gauntlet.
How long can Joe Starr keep a secret?
Okay.
It's good.
Yeah.
The
It's a
answer is
test.
forever
Several
because
years.
snitches get stitches.
Yes.
Stitches get stitches. So next, that's our new. That's what we're going on the mugs next. Ad Astra was pushed to September. Artemis Fowl pushed to May 2020. They both originally had summer release dates. The new Star Wars films (parentheses Untitled and parentheses) will release every other year on the weekend before Christmas, starting in 2022.
Okay.
And Avatar will release every other year on the weekend before Christmas, starting in 2021. Okay, so are we assuming that they're going to be doing odds and evens years?
Yeah.
One year you get a Star Wars, one year you get an Avatar, Star Wars, Avatar.
Yeah.
You got peanut butter into my chocolate, you got chocolate into my peanut butter kind of thing.
Every other Christmas is gonna suck.
Good for Avatar.
Which one?
They're really feeling themselves. Like they are now on par, at least within Disney, with Star Wars. That they're getting the flip-flopped prime release date. Mm-hmm. They must have actually shit their pants when they saw it, much like James Cameron promised. When you see the Avatar
I guess
sequels,
so.
quote, you will shit your pants.
I don't like that guarantee, but okay, what do you think, Joe?
Avatar to me
True quote,
feels
look it
like that cool a divorced dad that just got cool and like he walked onto the Disney
Like
lot and
Hawkeye
like,
post-snap.
Yeah. Avatar, absolutely.
It's got an undercut
Save the size of its head.
and a sleeve tat. It's hanging out in Japan.
Yeah.
Cruising in Shibuya.
It got one earring and a henna tattoo, and it is ready to rock, baby. It just, we're really gonna just keep trying to make it happen.
Well, I mean, they have not failed yet, except like their one movie is one of the most successful movies of all time. So if we'll be eating our words when Avatar 4 Under the Gungan Senate comes out or whatever, underwater adventure.
And I'm just sitting on a pile of my own dumps.
Yeah. It's like, oh! We all know to wear like 7 diapers into the theater because we know in 7D technology that propels you forward and backward in linear time.
will actually
Well, it's spraying you with water and like.
But by that time, they'll actually have toilets built into the
toilet
seats,
will
so
be
we
built
won't
in.
have to
That's
worry
true.
about
Every
it. We'll
chair
just take
will
off
be
our
like-
ass flaps.
It'll be like astronaut training. Like you just get strapped in.
They have to train you so that you don't let the poop come out
Yeah,
the
they
toilet.
surround you with screens and they just spin you while you're watching.
Why do you think Disney's making these movies so long? They're conditioning us. They're conditioning us to needing to go to the bathroom in the middle of a movie.
If you thought the P saga for Endgame was a big deal,
yeah.
wait.
When will we take our second dump during Avatar? It's going to be an article on Fandom.
Now, unless they throw something else on the schedule, we are looking at 3 whole years without a Star Wars movie like it used to be.
Well, it used to be more than that, right?
Yeah,
like a
like
decade.
20
the original trilogy was three years.
in
It was
between each
77,
movie,
80,
but I mean in
83,
between
yes.
trilogies.
But then it was like 16 years.
yeah,
Yeah.
generations.
Generations.
And it's looking that
the
the
best
schedule
Star
for
Trek
Star
movie.
Wars hints it's likely for a trilogy, especially since we're probably not doing, or at least they're pausing on Star Wars stories after Solo. Could be the Rian Johnson or the Benioff and Weiss one, but the rumor is that Benioff and Weiss is closer to happening. Are there any of these that you prefer, or does it? I mean, I don't know. The movie's not. There's nothing to know, really.
Yeah, I have zero
I have
clue
no-
on any of this. Part of me wonders if Benioff and Weiss just took that weird Confederate thing they wanted to do that everyone passed on and just like reskinned it.
Oh no!
Laser swords.
Would Watto work in this role? Yeah, most of them actually.
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
Keep the slavery out of Star Trek. I don't want to hear
Well, it's
about
out of
the
Star
Slavery
Trek.
has been in
I
literally almost
know.
every Star Wars movie.
I just don't want to hear about the underground Gungan Road. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want that. I'm sorry.
I know that one's supposed. You know, I don't know if that one's supposedly a Knights of the Old Republic thing, because part of me wonders if people were just like, they did get, if it's like old wizard casting, where it's like, Sabretooth's big in muscle, you're big in muscle, you be Sabretooth. If it's, you did Game of Thrones, Knights of the
Yeah.
Old Republic feels Game of Thrones, you do Knights of the Old Republic. Like, so, I don't know if it's actually a Knights of the Old Republic thing. It'd be neat to see. You're like, it is.
Dan,
be neat to
it's-
see.
Yes.
Yeah, what's the most risk-averse possible thing they could do
Exactly.
with Star Wars, and that's what Disney will be doing from here on out.
It's not a Rian Johnson trilogy, probably.
Yeah, no, that is not the most.
Yeah.
That could
No.
be a very cool one, but definitely not the most we can fire and forget
Yeah, what will keep people lining up?
Social media team, take a break.
Galaxy's Edge, we need that part of the theme park to do well for decades. What will keep people interested in Star Wars?
Although if Game of Thrones doesn't stick the landing, which it's already very apparent to at least a slice of the population that they've decided that it won't,
Right.
it will be interesting to see, like, oh, who is Disney hiring now? Like Benioff and Weiss
Those
or Ruin
hacks.
Johnson. What a choice between hacks. So, in a way, maybe they'd be in a no-win scenario.
Benioff and wine.
There it is. There it is.
Everybody really did turn on Game of Thrones real quick.
Real
this week.
fast.
It
Yeah,
happens.
real quick,
You
real
didn't
quick.
see it happening. But it's just
I
I just woke up and everyone, not everyone, but a certain portion was just like,
was like,
oh.
There was this,
There's only two things it can be, as Mr. Sunday Movies has said: best thing ever, worst thing ever, and it's
that's
gone
it.
from the best thing ever to the worst thing ever
Look,
overnight.
no
Overnight.
spoilers, but there's definitely a moment that happened. I was like, oh, this is where the internet turns.
Yeah.
This is, there was two of them, though. Anyway, no spoilers. I will try not to spoil. So next we're going to go into the Fox Marvel movies. Gambit and several untitled ones are now being removed from the schedule.
I think I win a bet, but I forgot. It was so long ago when I bet that Gambit wouldn't come out that I don't even remember what I won or who I made the
Oh,
bet
it was for this devil-possessed fiddle.
Yeah, I don't. It's not super surprise. It was going to be Channing Tatum dancing his way into our hearts as Gambit
with a bow staff
with a bow
and a Cajun accent.
Ooh, I was looking forward to that Cajun accent, though. I wanted to see that attempt. That script writes itself. You just write share every other sentence.
Yep.
That's
Shall
like
we?
half the.
Yeah.
That's half the script right there. Add in some sexual harassment. Mwah.
Bam.
So, do you think that any of these, again, the Channing Tatum's Gambit, the Nora Hawley, Doctor Doom script, are ever going to come back in some form that fits in with the MCU, or are they just going to go ahead and trash everything? I think
There's-
they trash everything.
Yeah, there's no way that Disney paid money to then clean up like a decade plus worth of Fox's X-Men nonsense. Like, there's no way they were like, yes, we want to pay you so that we can clean up your timeline and your weird decade-hopping obsession.
And we'll stay in your universe.
Yeah.
We're not going to
Yeah.
cross anything over. We're
There's-
just going to like sort out Gambit first, and then we'll bring him into the rest of the MCU.
New Mutants, I don't know why that exists still. Like, again, I think it's going to either become a direct-to-TV movie or a streaming thing, a la the old Generation X movie from the 1990s.
Best movie ever.
Best movie of all time.
Had Max Headroom in it.
Yes, it did. Yeah, best X-Men film easily. But yeah, there's all this stuff goes away.
I love that you determine greatness of film by presence of Max Headroom.
Oh yeah.
Look, the 90,
I think it's a fair metric.
Yeah, look, you just have to measure the 90ness of it with the Max Headroom.
So it has Max Headroom in it, but it's not like a weird decades jumping thing. It was just like, this is a contemporary thing to include Max Headroom.
Well, at the time, it kind of was, because
Yeah.
what this came out, well, maybe not quite, because this came out in probably 1990s.
Late 90s, right?
95, 96.
Wow.
I taped it off the TV, and I
As did
watched
I.
it at least once a week for about a year.
I was very excited.
Is very exciting and good. Let's talking about things that could be exciting and good. So we knew that Tim Miller and Brian Michael Bendis were working on a Kitty Pryde movie. There's Drew Goddard's X-Force movie, love Drew Goddard, which was originally supposed to be the next movie Deadpool would appear in after Deadpool 2. Goddard was going to do the Sinister Six movie for Sony until the Sony MCU deal happened, so he's kind of had bad luck with his Marvel movies. Are any of these sounding like something that you're into, or?
Well, it just depends
Yeah.
on what their universe plans
Yeah.
are. Because I'm looking at the list now, like it's as you get past 2020, the only Fox releases are Avatar, essentially. So it's not that
Go
Fox
ahead,
is going to
Avatar.
stop releasing movies. So they're going to add in movies. There's probably a Deadpool 3 in there somewhere. So Gambit, I think, is gone.
Bye.
Channing Tatum may appear as Gambit in a greater X-Men film or something like that, but there's no reason to start with Gambit when you're
You
when
sure?
you're out.
You don't want to start. You don't want to start with the person with like one of the most confusing backstories in all.
Let's really ease everybody in. This guy from the
but-
Thieves Guild.
The only Marvel character that I would ever that right now I would put any stock in actually coming to the screen would be Deadpool, because he exists like outside of time, and he can fit
waltz
in anywhere.
He can waltz right in to the established MCU, and they can wink at the camera and be like, "Acquisitions, am I right?" And then it's fine.
And
like
that's it.
whatever.
Yeah, but everything else I think is all
Specifically that line, like Ryan used that.
acquisitions. Am I right?
So good.
Pour one out for the Noah Hawley Doctor Doom movie, which I'm sure would have been awesome, and maybe they can take elements of that script or that approach and, you know, build up another big villain for Phase 19 or whatever their plans are. But he's just such a talented writer-director that I'm sad that's gone.
Last season of Legion drops soon.
There you
That's
go.
when you got to go back and watch, man.
Yep.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. It's one of my favorites. Speaking of favorites, hi, we like you. We love you. If you love us, go ahead and like and subscribe. Hit that bell. Once again, SJU's is now, we are now Fandom Entertainment. So yeah, if you hit the bell, you get notifications. So as soon as we do one of these fun things, it will tell you and let you know in your app so that you don't miss any of the fun things that we are doing. We've also got some great endgame stuff on fandom.com. Ryan, was that right?
Yes.
See? Ryan's so proud of me. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, we've got a lot of great stuff about Endgame on fandom.com. I wrote these are mine. So I wrote wow, that sounds terrible. I didn't even I didn't read the script first.
We churn out a lot of content here.
Sometimes we forget.
Yeah. Forget what we've
things
done
are ours.
yesterday.
I didn't get a chance to read this part yet because I was like, I don't need knowledge. So yes, I did one, how Iron Man launched Phenomenon against the odds, and then Captain America should never have worked was how they made us love him. Had I known that, I wouldn't have prefaced it with great. I feel like
They are
great.
lovely pieces.
feel-
And everyone should read them.
I feel terrible. The links are in the description. Inflate my ego. All right, next story. I'm sure all of you watched the Spider-Man trailer yesterday. Directed by Jon Watts, release date July 2nd, 2019. So director Jon Watts confirmed in an interview some more details after the trailer's release. There's the effects and timeline after Avengers Endgame, to which he said the idea is that it's almost immediately after the effects of Endgame, so we get to see the neighborhood from the first movie dealing with the implications of all of the crazy fallout of Endgame. On if the multiverse is being introduced to the MCU, well, I mean, yeah. That's a direct quote. Well, I mean, yeah.
Yep.
We had to look at it in terms of
If he
the
said
scope.
any more, like a red dot would have appeared on his forehead. Okay, go on.
Yep. We had to look at it in terms of the scope of what happened at the end of Endgame, seeing all of the crazy things they did and all of the questions that raises, so we're definitely trying to answer one of the big ones, alternate timelines. So many possibilities opened up at the end of Endgame, and Peter Parker is one of the few people on the ground dealing with them. So first of all, we'll just say, what were your first thoughts when seeing the trailer?
It was delightful. This looks like a fun romp at the theater like any Spider-Man should be. But I don't know. I guess it's probably harder than it looks, but like, yeah, no shit. Like, it should be a fun-looking Spider-Man movie, and he's swinging around doing teenager stuff and superhero stuff. It's not that complicated.
Mr. Hero looks fun. I will admit, I watched the trailer and I'm still a little tired from Endgame. So it took me a minute to push past that to be like, oh, we're doing another one already? Okay. But that said, it looks really fun and weird, and I like the weird little cool black suit. That's fun. Nick Fury being mad at him. That looks cool. Yeah. And
In-depth analysis. Screen junkies. Screen junkies.
What's for?
I love how they were just Kristen Wiig used to do this character on SNL who like couldn't keep a secret, and so like they having a surprise party and she was like, ooh. I just love how, spoilers by the way for Endgame, because we're going to be talking about this trailer and how it relates to Endgame, so spoilers. I just love how this trailer was like sitting on the whole secret, and then like 10 days after the movie released, they found just like, Iron Man is dead. Just like they were just, I gotta. They just had to get that out there right away.
Yeah.
So the tie-in I think is going to be smart on the part of Marvel, because now it answers that question of like, what did it mean Spider-Man Far From Home is the ending of Phase 3? Well, it's because obviously It's almost a sequel to Endgame, which I'm sure Sony's happy about because another studio made a movie that's going to be a huge lead into their movie and links directly to theirs.
In plays, they would call this the denouement. It's when you, I sound smart, but it's the part of, the part of the third act or sometimes outside of the third act where you actually deal with the events that happened throughout that thing. And so that's what this movie is. It's kind of the closing of some threads, and obviously there'll be some seeds for some stuff in the future. So what do you think that says, all the new developments about post-Endgame MCU say about where the studio is heading next? Or can we even start to predict? Because I know some people are saying, well, is there really a multiverse? Because, these dudes lie in interviews all the time.
Yeah, Nick Fury doesn't lie. Look, we have our suspicions about Mysterio being who he says he is in the trailer, I'm sure.
You mean an evil special effects artist?
Yeah, it might be. But I think from the lips of Nick Fury to my ears means that's how they're going to start working in all their shiny new intellectual property rights is multiverse. Whoop, look what I found in here. It's a Wolverine. Or whatever.
I think people are going to have their... Obviously, I will eat a lot of crow when I'm wrong, and they're like, oh, multiverse, secret invasion, we're combining a bunch of worlds, here we go! But I think the worst play that they could do with the MCU is to be like, here's 1 million alternate dimensions, let's go! Because that's what made the X-Men way too confusing to be accessible in the comics. That's the weird sludge that the Marvel Universe, proper in the comics, has been trying to figure out for 10 years now, because they were like, let's fold in some of the cool Ultimate Comics stuff. And
now where do we put this Miles Morales? We've got him. We've got all these extra Spider-Man laying around. What do we do with them?
And then they had to do, event after event after event after event to, make all of it work in the comics, and it still feels weird and disjointed. And I just feel like with your movie universe, that's a lot to do.
And people are already having problems with just what happens at the end of Endgame.
Yeah, Jesus. Do you...
Well, people, when you say people...
I mean my mom. She counts.
So your mom is like, the timeline does not add up. I don't know what your mom sounds like.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, good for her. Because I feel like audiences are going to be like, oh, cool, the X-Men are fighting Spider-Man now? I'll go see that. I don't care how it happened.
No, my mom was definitely like, where do you put them gems at? And I was like, look.
Well, she's very savvy.
I do this at home. I got it from somewhere.
Yeah.
Your mom's like, I have the Time Traveler's Handbook from Donnie Darko, and it does not...
My mom is a huge DS9 and Babylon 5 fan, so she's used to the weird.
I think that people heard Nick Fury say multiverse in this trailer, and they were just like, ah! I suspect, I'm with you, Joe. I suspect that this film may introduce the concept of a multiverse existing, but it will not deal at all with the multiverse because Mysterio is a liar and a con artist and a fraud. That's his character. And so I would not put it past him to say that he is from the multiverse and fighting all of these things to be a hero. And it turns out, potential / probably definitely spoiler, he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
Unless they really want to subvert the expectations, and he's a good guy, which would be a new direction. But I think that would be a good way to introduce the concept of a multiverse and bring a guy who says he's dealing with the multiverse when in reality he's a con artist.
How about this? Yeah. Mysterio gets pulled from the multiverse. He's got a flash drive, and on that flash drive are 4 folders. One folder has the logo for the Fantastic Four. The other folder has the logo for the X-Men. The other folder, I forget what other things they purchased, but he then clicks on security camera footage of Reed Richards' arm going whoop, and tapping someone on the shoulder the other way. And they say, we need to form a league.
A Fox League.
A league of extraordinary foxy gentlemen. And that's how we get our worlds to combine. Then done. Then you've done all your work.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like that's what a lot of people want. I will die on this hill watching people online overcomplicate introducing any of these characters into the MCU will put me in an early grave. People being like, oh, well, the snap just opens up a hole in reality and James McAvoy's Xavier falls out and the mental energy from Xavier is what causes mutations. And you're just like, what? No! no, why? Or like the snap opened up a hole and the Fantastic Four fell out of the snap, and that explains why they're already a fully formed. And it's just like, what? Why do any? No, they just are. I promise you that at some point in Phase 36, whoever is playing the new version of Agent Sitwell will say Reed Richards on a piece of paper, and then they're gonna do a movie about how 5 years ago, like right after the Battle of New York, they went on an astronaut trip, and they've just always been here. And they're gonna do a movie where Xavier's just always been here, and mutants are starting to hit puberty.
I don't know. I think that they're gonna go one at a time. If they're smarter, the way they've always done it is to like
give themselves some time.
Build each one up.
Oh, I do think they'll give themselves some time, but I don't think anything's going to come out of any complex machinations where like Magneto fell out of the new Captain America alternate reality.
Right.
And also imagine, again, like they did a beautiful, artful farewell to Steve Rogers, and so many people are just like, well, this does not jive with my idea of alternate dimensions. I demand justice. It's like, wait until they open up a whole Marvel, like, wait until they drop the Spider-Verse Miles Morales in, and everyone's logic brains just implode.
Oh, I've already seen people who are like, oh, this means we can get Tony back. And it's like,
no. Well, in a multiverse, they could recast. You know, hey, I'm James McAvoy as Tony Stark.
Yeah.
What? Like, they could do that.
I'm saying Donald Glover. I want Donald Glover as Tony Stark because I want to break everything.
Like, I do think Steve will come back. He will not be played by Chris Evans. They will have to do a War Machine Cheadle moment where the kid that plays Archie in Riverdale walks on camera with a shield and goes, yes, it's me, Steve, it's me. And everyone goes, hello, you, the person who's always been Steve. And he goes, yep, it's me. And then throws the shield at a Nazi.
From Riverdale has to be second on Viv.
Oh, boy. No one wants to be second on it. Wow.
No.
Yeah, I think this is the issue with comic book storytelling versus narrative film storytelling is that the comic books have trained you to think that once a character dies that it's just a matter of time until they come back. Movies, if they're doing their job properly, like we shouldn't want Tony Stark back or Captain America to de-age or really Black Widow to come back, at least in the form of just like her undoing what happened, because those were great narrative arcs for those characters. So ideally, I hope that they don't bow to the pressure of being like, well, when he's popular, so I guess we'll... Like, no, like, those were great... It was a great story, and the difference between a comic book and a movie is that, well, this is the other thing they have to deal with now. Movies, ideally, a franchise has an end date. So you can kill somebody for good and they stay dead because there's an ending. Comic books bring people back because they never end, and you can't kill off a character forever, or else you're just forever killing off a huge title in your library, which you can't do, which is why Captain America's died and come back and so everyone. That's why they kill everyone and bring them back. It's Superman's fault, largely. And we all just have to live with it. He's on my shirt. I'm not I don't hate Superman, but the death of Superman was simultaneously a huge boon for the comics industry and one of the worst things that ever happened. It started the downfall of it. That's also true.
I mean, it was the reason we started getting the huge events that were happening every summer. It
having to buy 6 comic books to follow one storyline.
And it's a great story. But,
although if they bring back Cap via Shaquille O'Neal in a suit of armor with an American flag hammer.
Ooh.
Yeah. Or mullet cap.
Oh, yeah. Mullet cap.
Yeah.
I would.
You could do that Iron Cap from the 90s. Where he has to wear the Iron Man suit?
The Patriot armor thing.
Or they could bring in teenage Tony Stark from the 90s. Guys, there's so many 90s comic book things that we could do.
But that's the thing is, like that was Marvel scrambling to like compete with Image and like the other grim dark comic book lines out there. I think they're going to try to move on without replaying the greatest hits, without bringing back Cap and Tony and stuff like that. They're going to give a shot with Fantastic Four and the X-Men and Deadpool and whoever's left of the Avengers, and if or when that doesn't work, then they'll be like, we should probably bring Cap back. Like, it's time.
Well, that's when it's over.
Yeah.
For me. And like when Van, like if they start going back and bringing things because it's not working, and like, okay, well, we paid Downey $50 million to come do one movie. That's for me as a fan. That's when I'm just like, okay, I'm checking out.
Although I do think this is where it gets interesting to me though, because they were able to make the Avengers didn't matter when Iron Man launched. Everyone's talked about it a zillion times. Like, but they made Iron Man and Captain America and Thor these huge brand names, and they made them the A-listers, and were able to start making other C, D, Z listers popular with them as a foundation. So now that you've removed those, this is the new test. You know, like they've launched Black Panther into the stratosphere as like an all-star lead character. Can these characters now start launching Miss Marvel or Riri Williams or Nova or any of these other characters without Robert Downey Jr. as
I think
as
they
a
can. I mean,
foundation?
I think they've been doing that for a while. Like outside of the big team up and crossover events and stuff like that. Like, you know, we go to see them because it's the new Marvel movie.
True.
Yeah.
Not
True.
because it's like tangentially related to Iron Man, although it's cool when it is. But it's a giant television series, and we all want to see the next episode.
Yeah, true.
And until the quality of that starts going down and we start skipping one or two here and there, and we don't really care what happens next, then yeah, the whole house of cards comes tumbling down.
Yeah.
But we're going to see it because it's the MCU, and that's the show we've subscribed to.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I just think minus that safety net now, it'll be sort of more interesting to see the acrobats do their work.
Ooh, sorry, I just thought about the Grayson family. Speaking of, speaking of subscribing to things, I did it. The Stranger Things trial has been withdrawn. This is via Deadline.
That was
So
fast.
just days before Stranger Things creators, the Duffer Brothers, were set to face a trial on claims of plagiarisms for the origin of the Netflix hit series, the whole thing has ended today. The plaintiff withdrew his wide-ranging damages suit against Matt and Ross Duffer. And quote, after hearing the deposition testimony this week of the legal expert I hired, it is now apparent to me that, whatever I may have believed in the past, my work had nothing to do with the creation of Stranger Things, said the plaintiff in a statement Sunday. Documents from 2010 and 2013 proved that the Duffers independently created their own show. As a result, I have withdrawn my claim, and I will be making no further comment on this matter.
Ooh, that had to sting to write.
Oh, well, he didn't write it. The attorney did. He cried.
That had
He
to
cried.
sting to put out. Yeah.
Ooh, is that like the legal version of my bad?
That's the bad part. Is the legal expert I hired.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the question is, did they? Because we were talking about this in the days leading up to it. Like the scope kept shrinking. Like in the week leading up to it, it went from the entire series to then he went back and said like, well, wait, hang on. The whole series is crafted by a writer's room, and this is against the Duffer Brothers. So really, I'm not talking about the whole series. It's just the pilot. So I'm suing that just the pilot was like it kept shrinking in scope. I wonder if it got so kind of untenable that Netflix kind of said like, listen, here's what's going to happen. We're going to pay your legal fees. You're going to put out a statement saying that you hired an expert that concretely proved that this was the thing, and this is going to be over. Or you can go to trial and you can lose. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And I wonder if he took the payout to basically just say like,
Netflix gave him the skip intro option.
Yeah, exactly. They gave him a skip trial button and he pressed it.
Well, and they do have a response. They said, we are glad to be able to put this baseless lawsuit behind us. As we have said all along, Stranger Things is a groundbreaking original creation by the Duffer Brothers.
And Steven Spielberg.
And Steven Spielberg and anyone else who's
And
ever
the
put a kid
1980s.
on a bike.
1980s.
We are proud of this show and of our friends Matt and Ross, whose artistic vision gave life to Stranger Things and whose passion, imagination, and relentless hard work alongside our talented cast and crew made it a wildly successful, award-winning series beloved by viewers, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, this was essentially, it was a very kind way of doing it. I'm not terribly surprised that this is how it happened. Anytime we have these, and we talked about this when we were talking about the Conan suit, these dudes sue, they don't want to go to trial. The whole point of suing and the reason why an attorney will take them is because it's expected that they'll get the attorney will get some fees paid, they'll get a smooth 20 grand and be told to F off. That's what they're expecting to get from these. And so I think the fact that Netflix wasn't blinking, that's the point where and they may have said, look, we'll just go ahead and pay your legal fees or whatever, but they didn't mention in this specifically that they'd reached a settlement. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. That is something you can actually look up, because when you reach a settlement, you do have to file something that just says like, hey, we have a notice of settlement. It won't say how much is in it, but it will say we have reached a settlement, and that is something that you can find in court documents if you buy those. I won't. But So I think this was just another things of they saw that like they saw the white of Netflix's eyes and realized that like Netflix was not going to blink.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the two. Yeah, either Netflix offered him some nominal thing in exchange for like you're going to go in front of you're going to go up to the front of the class, you're going to tell them you're wrong and you're stupid, and you're never going to tell anybody that this happened. Or Netflix came to him with no money and said like, you're screwed. Your own expert just punched a hole in your case, and if you go to trial, we're going to sue you for defamation. We're going to countersue you for legal fees. We're going to sue you, for and then he's looking at either giving up and saying he was wrong or owing potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars.
We're gonna just not make the next season of Orange Is the New Black and use that budget to destroy you.
Because we're Netflix. And we can.
They have the money. Well, and also, so one of the interesting things about these cases is that, again, you can either... I lost my complete train of thought. I had something very smart and erudite to say about the legal system and the way that it works with all of my years of experience, and it just went...
I'll start rambling. You find it again. I think dangerous is way too strong a word, but this guy, the Duffers, no one invented stories about government conspiracy theories, and also none of these people invented these kids go on a big adventure. Again, because there are like 8 story ideas. Even before the Goonies, there was
Stand By Me.
Yeah, there was Stand By Me. When I was little, I grew up on well before Three Ninjas came out. I grew up on a movie that I just rented every day from Roadrunner Video called Seven Ninja Kids, and it was like it was like from 1976, and it was about 7 kids that were ninjas.
Sure.
They also did not invent movies about kids or ninjas.
Right.
Yeah, well, the plaintiff has a great opportunity now to, he has his material back in his possession. He can now change the decade that it takes place in, so it's not too similar to Stranger Things, and do like a late 90s, early 2000s version where they're all on razor scooters, and they're all eating Raven's Revenge, and they're all, maybe one of them wears Heelys.
And that is where Netflix comes in and sues him.
And then sell it to Hulu,
That's perfect.
They're all listening to Papa Roach, and they discover, something behind the Claire's that leads to a vast government conspiracy.
It's just a bunch of earring backs. So what I was going to say is that my guess, and again, I'm not there, I'm not in the room. My guess is he got a lawyer. The case sounded pretty good. The lawyer started going through some of the stuff. He wasn't willing to give up, and the lawyer said, "We will pay someone $1,000, because sometimes you have to. You will tell clients all day long, like, this isn't going to work, this isn't going to work. And then sometimes you can just drop them and be like, no, this isn't going to work, and you're being dumb. A lawyer could have felt very bad for him, wanted to get in a couple of more hours, or recognize that, like, yo, I'm not going to get paid anything for this. And so rather than being mean enough to just say, I'm dropping you, you go figure this out on your own or get a new lawyer, the lawyer was like, we're going to hire a legal expert, and they're going to prove how right you are, knowing that wasn't going to happen.
And then they went, oh, no.
Oh, no.
But
it's like a mercy kill.
In the quote, it's like documents from 2010 prove that the Duffers independently created their show, so maybe Netflix just sent him a copy.
Well, you have to. As part of their response, they would have had to. That would have been one of the first things that they do. So when you file one of these lawsuits, then they have a period of time when they can respond, and when they do, they can attach evidence and all that other stuff.
So it's like, here's a thing that proves we were writing it before we ever made it.
So they
here's the Google Doc timestamp.
So that's what's funny is that they probably already had that.
Yeah.
And he was still insisting that he did it. More than likely, again, neither one of us were there. And so that is our wacky legal news segment. So now we're going to get into some Fan Friday questions. As y'all know, Ryan sources those every week via the community tab. So take a look out for those. So we've got one that I thought was really interesting, and this is by Lupe, who asks, there have been several alternate musicians that have found success as film composers. Who are some musicians you'd love to see attempt the role?
Curious and fascinating.
Trent Reznor was awesome.
Trent Reznor's done great.
Really
Devo,
And,
those guys have done fantastic.
Yeah.
Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead. Green Tree? Green something.
Greenwood,
yeah. But who should do that? I don't know, man. All my music references are old.
Well, we have that lovely Tron score. That was probably the single good thing about the Tron sequel.
Legacy, yeah.
And Tron Legacy was fine, but that score's amazing.
Neutral Milk Hotel.
You'd like to see a Neutral Milk Hotel. I am an aeroplane under the sea or something like that. What's that thing? What's that album?
It's in the airplane. In the airplane
I never
over the
get past
sea.
track 1 with that. I know it's great. I just don't.
It's a great album, but if that noise isn't a noise you like, that's the album. you gotta really like that noise, my dude.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of people who are like pretty flexible and can do like a lot of different genres. Like maybe Beck. Has Beck ever made a movie?
Soundtrack? Well, I know that he contributed greatly towards the Scott Pilgrim versus the Universe soundtrack.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was a big one that he did.
I am so not a music guy. I'm with Spencer. Like my music reference. I was listening to Smashing Pumpkins on my drive-in today. Like I'm an old person in internet time.
Billy Corgan could do a soundtrack if he can stop buying wrestling companies.
Yeah, I would want to hear
It's okay. I hear you. I was at a stoplight today just blaring like a prayer, and someone pulled up and was just like, okay. And I was like, yep, best pop song ever written. Everyone popping to my head has to do a score or a soundtrack for a very specific kind of movie. Like, I think Brandi Carlile could do a really cool soundtrack for a film, but that film would have to be about a broken down country singer looking for a second chance in the outskirts of Nashville or something like that. Like, she can't do the Iron Lad movie for Young Avengers spinoffs.
That's true. I think that St. Vincent would be someone who is good, who could do anything. So St. Vincent is like, if you guys, okay, I don't have to, but for the audience.
Is she St. Vincent or is it a band? I don't. Help me out.
She is. So she is like if someone mixed David Byrne and Prince.
Yeah.
And then put them into a hot person whose face I want to put on my face.
Sure.
Who may allow me to do such.
Janelle Monáe. Has she made movie scores?
Oh, she would be.
Her albums are basically movie scores.
Yeah, kind of like Dirty Computer.
Yeah, she needs to do a weird Black Mirror movie score and soundtrack.
Yeah.
Then she could star on it. That'd be a good call.
James Blake is a good kind of like croony electronic sad boy movie, like Garden State 4, like Garden State 2029.
Look, I do love my sad boys. That's why I had to stop naming things. I was like, oh, these are just all sad. I'm not gonna pitch Iron and Wine. I am revealing a lot about myself.
Like The Revenant, but if nothing goes wrong.
Or it's just about a lady. The Revenant, but
to get some pelts in the woods.
The Revenant, but instead of a bear, Zooey Deschanel dumps him. Yeah.
Yes.
I would so watch that movie.
Look, that's my bear. My bear is just being dumped in a forest by
Tom Hardy is the supportive best friend.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Just talk to her.
For 4 years, you gotta get yourself back out there, brother. I've been up and down this mountain with you 15 times, and I've never seen your heart so broken.
Cue the. Just
Get your pouch back on, brother. Let's go.
sounds great.
That's great. I love it. That makes me incredibly happy. Okay, we'll see if we can get through one more of these.
Coherently.
Huh?
Coherently.
No deal.
Nope, didn't promise that. Didn't say it at all. All right, so we'll do one last one from Kate, who asks, "Ooh, if you could be on a movie set, either a fly on the wall, working on it, etc., on any film ever made, which one would it be and why?"
New Mutants.
Well, have I got a scoop for you? Bullet. I failed my test. God. The current nerd in you just wants to be on, one of those last days of Endgame, all those weird behind the scenes videos of keep popping up with that many A-listers just like sitting around killing time being doofy. Like that's you want to be in that room. That's a cool room to be in.
I think the obvious choice is Blade Trilogy.
That's a good one.
Blade Trilogy or the whole trilogy?
Blade Trinity, excuse me. Where Wesley Snipes was in character the whole time, wouldn't leave his trailer, stunk like weed, and would pass post-it notes to the director, signed Blade. I think that
Wouldn't take his sunglasses off.
would not take his sunglasses off. That's where I'd like to be.
I would. The movie set I'd like to have worked on was, I think you could make a movie about this guy's job. The guy whose job it was to find Tony Jai to finish filming.
Yes.
I think it's The Protector that he vanished on, and just
Was it? No,
it wasn't an Ong Bak. I think it was The
Ong Bak
Protector.
too.
No.
Okay.
But he just like vanished. He just vanished to go meditate in the woods.
The jungle.
In the jungle. Yeah, sorry. The
Ooh,
jungle.
the full Chappelle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, no. Chappelle did the full. Did a semi-jai.
Yeah.
And I think you can make a movie about the PA who was put in charge of like bringing him back.
Bring back the martial arts expert who wandered off into the jungle and didn't come back.
Like, that's a weird Heart of Darkness story that I'm very into seeing.
For me, I think it would be the original Star Wars when nobody knew what Star Wars was, so that you could see like Harrison Ford just like, what's going on here? Like, I can't say this crap.
Yeah.
And Alec Guinness, just proto Alan Rickman in Galaxy Quest, is like, well, I was in Lawrence of Arabia, I'm sitting next to a carpet. And you just the height of '70s Hollywood, but then you fly them all out to Tunisia. And everyone's just like, what am I doing? This is the end of my career.
This guy's
I don't
in a
know
trash
what's going
can.
on.
Like,
I'm
stupid.
I would like to see it'd be cool to be able to interview Guinness like before and after it released, because I
Yes.
promise you, in that like as classy of a dude as everyone has said that he was, he was definitely just like, I'm by a trash can. What in the hell
have you
is my
seen
life?
what the scenes against Darth Vader were like before James Earl Jones? Like, you're just standing in a hallway with a guy in a essence like black rubber daddy suit, just like, but it's not James Earl Jones. It's like, if this is the consularship, then where is the ambassador? And I'm just like, what am I doing?
And they're all just clacking plastic swords against each other.
Light up plastic. I would pay, because nobody would knows what is going to happen. It's just you're on the set of this dumb movie that's gonna.
There's
be
no reason
terrible.
why that shouldn't have been Sharknado.
No,
like there's
that
no
should
reason.
have been the worst movie ever made. I would just a day on that set. I don't know what day, but I would just like to sit there and watch them bouncing around the Millennium Falcon, hating life.
That's amazing. I think my smart answer is The Shining. My dumb answer is Soul Plane, and that's going to be it for this episode of SJU.
Always end on a Soul Plane.
Thank you guys so much for all your fan questions. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.